MMA rants and raves. Fedor Emelianenko versus Alistair Overeem for what might be possibly one of the most anticipated matches ever in MMA history. Now guys, should I say deja vu? Last year, as you well know, Fedor was supposed to face Josh Barnett, and at the time, one of the top-ranked heavyweights in the world. Now we know that fight didn't happen because Josh Barnett tested positive. I was just as disappointed as everybody else, if not more, that it didn't happen. I even made a video vlog about disappointments for last year, and that was top on the list. Very disappointed that didn't happen. That would have been yet another big test for Fedor. And it just didn't materialize. So roll the clock forward. Everything that happened with Brett Rogers, Fedor beats him. Instead of Fedor fighting Overeem, Rogers faces Overeem and loses. And now we have, yet again, rolling the clock forward to next year, an anticipated matchup between Fedor and Overeem. So here we go again. And let me tell you something, guys. Barnett was one of the top-ranked heavyweights last year, and now Overeem definitely is. I think he is one of the top-ranked heavyweights, and I'm going to make a statement. I think he is the top 4, 5, somewhere in that category, heavyweight in the world. There's no question about it. Maybe top 4. And the reason I say this is because he has got all the tools, the size, and the right age group, everything you need to be successful. I mean, the guy is a K1 level fighter. He beat the top guy there, Badr Hari. He's very good at kickboxing. He's destroying people, knocking people out with his knees. He's very good on the ground. I mean, talk about a guy who's that big and that strong, who's well-rounded. Let me make a point here, guys. If you watch mixed martial arts, you'll notice as you go down the weight classes, the guys tend to be more flexible. They're quick, and they're more well-rounded. They're very good on the ground. They're good with submissions. They're good with their striking, and they're more well-rounded. But as you go up the weight classes, the fighters are generally less well-rounded. They're more like wrestlers, and they're very good on the ground if they have some other tools that they can use. But generally, they're less well-rounded than their lower weight class counterparts. Now this guy is very well-rounded. I mean, a lot of his victories, he has over 30 victories in his career, are with kickboxing, knees to the head, a lot of submissions, kimuras, arm bars. Guy was 6'5", 260 pounds. To be that well-rounded, guys, that's scary. Especially since he's able to incorporate his K1 experience, his K1 successes. This is a very dangerous guy. And it's not just in the octagon. I mean, I heard that he got injured, which is part of the reason why he wasn't defending his belt. He got into a fight in a bar. He went to the hospital and sent 5 bouncers with him. This guy is very dangerous. And all you had to do is look at his last fight against Brett Rogers. Now, I predicted that he was going to win that fight. But there's one thing that really surprised me, and the thing that surprised me was he was able to take Rogers down to the ground like he would throw down a sack of potatoes. Rogers is not 265, by the way. This guy walks around at close to 300 pounds. He took this guy and just flinged him to the ground. This guy has freakish power, you know? And let me tell you something. There are strong men that come into mixed martial arts and they don't have success because even though they're very strong, they have to incorporate it into fighting. He takes his brute strength, his insane strength, and he's able to incorporate it into fighting. He is just destroying his opponents since he has gotten so much bigger from when he was a 225-pounder back in the Pride days. Now at 255, 260, he's undefeated. He's destroying his opponents. Everything is first round defeats. It doesn't matter who he faces, whether it's Rogers or James Thompson. It makes no difference. The results are the same. It's either a submission or it's a knockout. And that's the story with this guy. Very, very dangerous fighter. And it's evident. It's evident in all his fights. So that's the story with Overeem. So if Fedor is going to face him, it's going to be the same situation. Instead of Josh Barnett, it's going to be Alistair Overeem. Now, as far as the fight, if it's going to happen, a lot of people don't know if it's going to happen, but it just seems like they're on a collision course because Fedor is co-promoting with Strikeforce, and they're bringing the fights to him, to his organization M1, and they're doing the co-promotions. However, things have changed because they had this contract dispute and the fight didn't happen with Overeem. So therefore Roger stepped up and faced Overeem instead because the contract dispute happened. People are saying that Fedor got hurt in the last fight, something like that. In any case, whatever the case is, he didn't fight Overeem. So instead, Fedor is going to be facing Fabricio Werdum, also a top-ranked heavyweight. I mean, a very talented heavyweight. And that's going to be taking place on June 26th. Now, the thing with Fedor is he doesn't fight that often, if you notice. Before he fought Rogers, it was about 11 months. He hasn't fought now in about 6 months. And by the time the fight happens next month, it's going to be like about 7 months. So think about it. What happens in that fight, that's another thing. If Fedor gets hurt, if it's a tough fight or something like that, who knows when he's going to be fighting Overeem. And who knows what's going to happen to Overeem in between. Because that's going to be a long time from now. He may be fighting somebody else. So who knows when and if this fight will ever happen. But if it does, you're talking about at least 5-6 months down the road. So as far as this prediction is concerned, this is an early bird prediction. And also, there's a clause that it may never happen. It's a prediction that may never happen. But anyways, let's get into it. So we talked about Overeem. Now let's talk about Fedor. There's an expression, guys. Be careful for what you wish for, because you just might get it. Overeem called out Fedor. I don't remember many people that have actually called him out explicitly as he did. And it's a very bold thing to do. And here's the reason why. Fedor, as you well know how I feel about his fighting abilities. I said it many times. I mean, he is the greatest athlete to ever live. That's my opinion. And it's a very strong opinion. The guy's never lost. He's fought over 30 fights. That's never happened before. You always lose. You fight over 30 times. I don't care if you fight great fighters, journeymen. Someone's going to get you. Anderson Silva lost to journeyman in an embarrassing fashion. It happens. It happens to the best. It happens to the best fighters out there. Brock Lesnar, we don't know how good he really is because he's fought so few fights. But he got caught. You lose. You make mistakes. Even if he goes on to have a great career, he's going to always have that loss. He lost that fight. Fedor never lost. The legends, Randy Couture lost bunches of fights. BJ Penn lost. He lost a tough fight recently, his title to Frankie Edgar. George St. Pierre lost. It's Haron O'Gara. I'm thinking of the greatest fighters here. They've all lost. So the point is, especially after over 30 fights, no mixed martial artist in history, I don't think a boxer in history has ever had a record like that. And if you look at all the sports, forget about that. Look at football. Joe Montana lost. Look at baseball. Babe Ruth has lost games, Look at hockey. Wayne Gretzky lost games. Tennis, McEnroe lost games. Any sport that you can think of, everybody has lost. All the greats I'm talking about, everybody has lost. He has not lost a fight. Okay? And there's a reason for it. Guys, you got to really watch his fights. One of the best examples is the fight against Tim Sylvia. You know what I noticed in that fight? He has something that nobody has. They call it the Mike Tyson effect. Extremely quick hands. They come at you from places that you don't expect them to come. It's not just their jabs, or they're from the right or left, or from on top or from on bottom. They're coming at you like swarms of hornets. They're just coming at you from all directions. You don't know where they're going to come from, but they come at you with speed, with lightning speed. When you watch it, you just see them coming across. It's just like you see a blur of hands from where they came from, because your eyes are not fast enough to catch where they come from. That's how fast this guy hits. And you can't stop. You can't protect yourself from that. That's the issue. And when you have something coming at such a velocity, it means it really comes at you hard. When it lands, it's powerful. Very powerful. You know, it's like dropping something from a very tall building. The faster it comes, the harder it's going to strike. And that's what happens with this guy. Tremendous speed and power. And here's something else he does. He's an opportunist. He doesn't just throw wild punches. I mean, some of his punches miss. And of course, it has something to do with the skill of the opponent. But when he throws the punches, all right, he sees an opportunity. It means that he sees an opening between the guy covering up. There's some opening over there that he sees, and he pulls the trigger. And when he does, it's precision. The precision of this man is remarkable. And I saw it in a Tim Sylvia fight. Out of all Tim Sylvia's fights, you know, he lost. But he hasn't been knocked out like that. Forget about the Ray Mercer thing. You know, that was just a horrible fight. He was in bad shape. He looked better in his recent fight against Pudzianowski. I don't want to get into it, but, you know, he looked good in that fight as far as physically. It's just that you can't defend yourself against something like that. You know, he lands those shots. You saw it in the Rogers fight. He sees an opening. He hits it. Forget about hands down, hands up. Not many people can do that. I don't think anybody can do that. He knows when a punch is coming to him. It's hard to hit, very hard to hit Fedor standing up. And he throws them when he knows when he has to throw them. It's an instinct. He's like a lion seeing an opportunity and going for the hunt, going for the opening, knowing when they're close enough and when they're too far, not to expose yourself when you throw punches. And that's what he does. That's how skilled of a stand-up fighter he is. Now, if you talk about Overeem, you know, he looked really good against Rogers, who's a good striker too. He covered up well, put his hands in front of his face. He was moving his head back because he anticipated a punch coming at him. So he has great instincts as a fighter. But how is he going to defend the swarm of punches and the speed of which they come by Fedor Emelianenko? How is he going to defend against that? And what if he gets hit? And we've seen him get hit. I remember there was a fighter named Karatanov. And I remember Karatanov hit him, and it landed. And then he started to run and backpedal, and he kept on him like a mad dog, and he kept on firing at him. And that's what Fedor does. Nobody does that better than Fedor. If he smells blood, he sees somebody's hurt, he's going to stay on top of that guy, and he's going to finish. And finish quickly. In a devastating fashion. And he hits a lot harder and faster than Karatanov. Karatanov's a quality fighter. But Fedor is unmatched in the stand-up game. If he hits Overeem, it's over for Overeem. Over for Overeem. You know? But usually it wouldn't be, because you know, he's such a great fighter. But if that happens, that's going to be the situation. And here's the deal. Here's something else that I want to bring out here. It's a point I want to make. We know how big and strong Overeem is right now. But all the strength and the size doesn't make your chin stronger. Your muscles can get bigger. Your leg muscles can get bigger. Your chest muscles can get bigger. But your chin is the same. Your chin is always going to be the same. You can't build up muscles in your chin to take a punch better. Okay. Fedor is a marksman. That's what it is. I mean, it's like a sniper. If he sees an opening, he is going to take it. How is Overeem going to contend with that? With those brutal bombs coming at him. And it's so hard, because if you're covering up for that, then he can take you down with his Sambo. So it's going to be really, really difficult. I mean, and every fighter faces this when they face Fedor. It's the same thing over and over again. You know, you either get destroyed standing up, or you get taken down. Maybe Overeem can handle himself better on the ground, so that would probably be his best strategy, to get this thing on the ground. And, well, we saw how easy it was to throw Rogers down, such a huge guy, but it won't be against Fedor. But if it goes to the ground, I would say Overeem has a better chance. It's just that the stand-up is so dangerous with Fedor. And then, of course, you know, what Overeem can do standing up is he should keep distance from Fedor because he has the better reach and he's got that kickboxing. So that's probably his best strategy. And he did that in the Rogers fight. He was throwing the leg kicks, and you might see that. You might see that happening. Fedor faced Semi-Schilt, who was a really tall guy and had that reach. I mean, he right away, you know, he ate a punch just to get inside, to throw him down. And that's what he has to do to be successful, probably against Overeem too. Overeem is not as tall and doesn't have Semi-Schilt's type of reach with his legs and arms and his height, which also contributes to your reach when you go forward with your strikes and your jabs. But in any case, you know, you can analyze this many different ways. The bottom line is that Overeem's chin is probably his weakest link. And Fedor is going to expose that. Anyway, here's the way I see the fight going. Overeem has a chance if he can get it to the ground, and if he can keep distance from Fedor with his K1 level fighting, using his deadly knees and kicks, and also his over 81-inch reach, which is a very big advantage. So Fedor's going to have to get by that reach to get inside, maybe go for some kind of takedown, and hopefully get it to the ground, a submission. Now, the key for Fedor, of course, is to look for openings. Throw those brutal Superman punches which come at a very high velocity. The wicked right hand that he knocked out Brett Rogers with, that was heard around the world, and destroyed Tim Sylvia, and the list goes on, you know, all his victims. And then, of course, if he takes it to the ground, I mean, what he does best, his arm bars are probably his best submissions. He knocked off a lot of opponents like that. He does the Kimura well, rear naked choke. So I would say standing up is probably his best strategy, and then if he has to, takes it to the ground. But Fedor is just too dangerous. If this fight happens, he's going to be so well prepared. And I know Overeem is very dangerous, and it's going to be a great fight. You know, I mean, I give Overeem a chance, of course, even though Fedor is so unbelievable. He's so immortal in the sport. But I see Fedor winning this fight. I see him winning this fight. I see him winning it either by knockout or possible submission. Well, it remains to be seen. If the fight happens, that's the way I see it happening. And if it does happen, it's going to happen after Fabricio Werdum. Looking forward to that fight. So we'd like to know what you guys think about Fedor facing Overeem. If the fight happens, what might happen if they face. Please comment, rate this video, and subscribe. And thank you for tuning in.